for Intimate Stranger. Hello and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera and I'm joined as always by my two wonderful co-hosts, Katie.
Hello.
And Livy.
Hi.
This week we got our first body swap situation, and I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to finally really bring Buffy into this discussion in a serious way.
For sure the biggest and first step.
And Callisto is here again.
And you know what happens when Callisto is involved with this podcast.
We literally have to talk about every single syllable that comes out of her mouth.
So
let's start.
Yeah, we're dealing with episode 416, Who Are You? Written and directed by Joss Whedon.
What?
What?
Oh, excuse me.
What podcast is this?
Yeah. This is Xena. But
Vera, did you switch places with that girl who runs buffering?
I don't know. I have to look in the mirror. This is 207, Intimate Stranger, written by Steve Sears and directed by Gary Jones, who the last time we saw him did The Giants.
Yep. But he also did Greater Good, which is a great episode.
Should not be forgotten.
He's batting 2 for 1. That's a pretty good batting average.
Yeah, and as far as directing goes, I for sure noticed that this was very much like an in the style of TJ episode. So he did a really good job of like, mimicry is a really bad, poor choice of words to do with the entirety of this episode.
That's true.
Because these people are doing a very specific thing, okay? It's more than just mimicry. But a lot of the shots, a lot of like the color palette and everything was just very specifically
camera work, a lot of dreamlike stuff because we're dealing with dreams.
Yeah, very specifically like stuff you saw 2 episodes ago.
Well, I've always had the kind of thesis statement that TJ is laying down a lot of the visual language that then other directors pick up on and really make, Xena's calling card. Right. So it makes sense to me that other people are now taking notice of what TJ's been doing and using it in their own episodes.
But it specifically makes sense. Like, I mean, he didn't do it in The Giant Killer. You know what I mean? Like, he did it here. So it works. It's great.
Yeah.
Good job, Gary Jones. So let's begin talking about this. It starts with Xena kind of jumping from the sky into frame. What is she doing? It's nighttime. And she's like, hunting Theodorus.
That's right.
My favorite goon.
Is he? He's your favorite goon?
He is my favorite goon.
Explain.
I don't know. I like Theodorus.
Do you have a lot of sympathy for his plight?
I think just like Theodorus loves Callisto, I love Callisto. So I feel it.
It's not requited.
It's not.
She does not love you back.
She only has eyes for Xena.
Only Xena.
Not even for me.
It's rough. She kills him.
Not yet.
That's why I said I felt bad for you every time Vera picks a favorite.
I was very shocked by just like how quickly she was just like, I'm going to kill him. She
kind of alluded to that previously. Yeah. They were all expendable to her.
Yeah. Especially if they get the hard eyes.
So Theodorus is now kind of controlling the army because Xena let Callisto die 2 episodes ago.
Right.
But they kind of act as if it was just last week.
There was a comedy interlude.
I think that maybe wasn't the intention originally. Mm-hmm. I think they definitely shot Warrior Princess Tramp much earlier. I think it was the first episode shot. So I think at some later stage they decided to break up these 2 episodes. It might have been related to some production concerns, or maybe it was just them wanting like a comedy palate cleanser.
I feel like a lot of times they do throw in a comedy in between like a bunch of dramas.
Yeah. You kind of want that almost like emotional valve, You want to like blow off the steam.
Right. But then it also, in terms of like emotional continuity, was weird seeing Gabrielle kind of be like, la 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 last week.
Yeah.
And then this week she's like, anything to do with Callisto.
They haven't quite figured out that serialized storytelling.
So Xena is hunting Theodorus. She wants to get the rest of Callisto's army. And suddenly, out of the mist, she hears Xena.
Right.
From the dulcet tones of Cyrene.
Cyrene!
What's she doing here?
What is she doing here?
I think you said out of the mist, which is very important.
Yes.
Because immediately you know something is weird, because they do tend to run into people that they know just in the middle of the woods all the time,
Yeah.
like Perdiccas. He just showed up in the middle of the woods. So Cyrene could totally have been in the middle of the woods, but you know that she's not really there because of that mist.
This is the first time we've seen Cyrene since Sins of the Past. And
Really?
It's good to have her back. Yes. She's been mentioned a lot.
Oh,
but
yeah. I feel like she's in every episode.
She cast such a long shadow.
Man.
But yeah, this is her return to the series. So welcome back, Cyrene.
Yeah, and she wants Xena to come back to Amphipolis. And Xena's like, that's weird, and starts suspecting things.
Well, what she says is come back where you're loved and needed, back where you belong. Which, I mean, these are things Xena wants to hear about Amphipolis, but we immediately know this is obviously Ares, and what he means is with me doing warlord thing.
Yeah, and it was really extra creepy kind of seeing Cyrene turn into Ares.
Yeah.
And, like, he's already pretended to be her dad.
Yeah.
So now he's pretending to be her mom, too, and he wants to fuck her? Like,
No.
what is this guy's deal?
Yeah, he has issues.
Oh, my God. Freud. Paging Dr. Freud.
Yikes.
This is where you get his infamous line, I just wanted to welcome you back into my fold, which you have a problem with, Liv.
It sounds sexual. I don't know.
What is his fold?
No one refers to their folds. Well, I guess in either a sexual context or in a like warlording context. It's just a really weird thing to say, okay?
You want him to say the fold.
The fold,
Not his
okay?
fold.
He doesn't have a fold.
I don't know what that means. Okay.
And he starts talking about how Xena executed Callisto. Mm-hmm. This is kind of like the first we hear of such strong words used on what happened at the end of Return of Callisto.
And Xena is at first very resistant. She says that's not what happened. Like, she at least puts up a token defense of her actions.
Right, and then suddenly Callisto appears sticking out of the ground in the same pose, obviously.
Something's not right here.
Quick Sandy, help me, Xena, help me.
Yeah, and this is great because you were like, is she laughing or is she, you know, like, what's
Actually
her...
crying for help.
Yeah, and it was like, you couldn't really tell. It was like an amazing mixture of the two.
That's what's so great about Callisto is you never quite feel that she's being serious. She's always just having too much fun.
And then Xena's sword, like, moves on its own, seemingly. Like, she's like, no, 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 but the sword keeps coming.
You get the sense that Ares is doing it, because I think she's being like, Ares, stop!
Well, yeah. That's how she always reacts to Ares.
Callisto says to Xena, you can't let me die, I am you. Which obviously is a very significant line, particularly in this episode. She also says a bunch of stuff about kind of her crimes, you know, who is Xena to judge what she's done. You know, that it's murder precisely because Xena is who she is. Like, if Xena were somebody else, she would have been free to kill Callisto. But because there's this connection between Xena and Callisto, her crime is much larger.
And then the sword penetrates Callisto
Oh my goodness.
in her chest.
This is just like, this sword is just like the weird boner that Xena can't control for Callisto.
Oh no.
Paging Dr. Freud. Are you coming, Freud?
Oh, no, is he?
Oh, God.
Oh.
And Xena wakes up. So
It was
this
a
is
dream.
a weird sex dream she just had.
She goes to check on Gabrielle, who's under a ton of blankets. She's just a blanket burrito with a Gabrielle inside.
And she rolls her over and, oh my god, no, it's Callisto.
With, like, black demon eyes.
Yeah, the black demon eyes. Xena's like, what's on my hands? It's blood. And oh my god, Xena wakes up again. So what the
many
fuck?
dreams.
So many dreams. We have to go deeper, Inception style. Okay, so this time Gabrielle is shaking her awake. Mm-hmm. She's having this like very vocal nightmare.
And she wakes up and she's like, do you think I executed Callisto?
And Gabrielle's like, I think you did what you had to do. Which is a nice thing to say, supportive thing to say.
Yeah. Just being a nice little friend.
But Xena says, I never gave her a chance to change. I murdered her. So Xena uses the M word already here. And Gabrielle's just like, Callisto chose her own path, not you. I'm sure there was some goodness that could be mined, but it wasn't your responsibility. I immediately had my alarm bells ring because I did not think Gabrielle really believes that there's any goodness to be mined in Callisto. That was a strange line for her to say.
That's weird because, like, out of anybody who would think that, it would be Gabrielle.
You think?
Yeah.
But I feel like in this particular circumstance for Callisto, she really hates her.
Yeah.
I think she would still, at the end of the day, find a little thing to forgive her.
You think
In
so?
her heart. Yeah, 'cause she's Gabs.
I mean, she is Gabs. That's her thing, is seeing the good in everyone. But I love that there's always, like, the one exception to that rule. And I think for Gabs, it's Callisto.
Doesn't Eli, like, sort of open that up more in her, like, later on? We're going ahead of ourselves. We're not
Yeah,
supposed to talk about that.
spoilers. Who's Eli?
No one. Okay, continue. Because the next part of this is amazing.
So she says, just because you didn't show her the mercy that other people showed you doesn't make you a murderer. And this is the moment where Xena herself gets suspicious.
Yeah.
Because that's such a guilt-trippy thing to say.
So rude.
And then Gabrielle takes it even one step further, and at this point, she got such a, like, evil gleam in her eyes.
Yeah, and the light changes on her.
The light changes, her performance changes, I think she's not blinking. There's just, like, something really off about
That's
this.
real bad when that happens.
She starts to bring out the eyebrows.
Yeah.
You got the evil eyebrows working. You're like, what is this girl? She says, if Hercules had treated you the way you treated Callisto, you would be dead now. She says, and you deserve it more than her. Then Callisto voice kicks in and says, after all, she didn't create you.
And Xena wakes up again.
So it's interesting to me that Gabrielle turns into Callisto in this dream twice. And in the episode, that is not what happens at all.
Not only that, but if she says she murdered her, she could like already be her, like by the rules of this episode.
But I think she's in enough, maybe a deeper level of the dream state, so it doesn't count. There's no rock nearby for her to spin into yet.
Oh my god.
So it doesn't count, okay? Even though the M word did come out. Yeah.
So yeah, like I already jumped the gun and she wakes up again. This time is like really sad because she's all sweaty and like
you can
really
tell
upset.
she really woke up this time.
Yeah. You were like, oh, they don't sleep together.
Oh, well, I was just
yet.
tracking. Listen, I was just tracking how they sleep by the campfire. Like, so at this point, they're like still kind of like further apart, and like Xena was sleeping in an entirely different direction.
Yeah.
Right? They're not like sleeping next to each other in the same direction. Just a note.
But in the dreams they were.
In the dreams,
In
they
the
might have
dreams
been.
They were. In her dreams,
no,
they
she kind of
sleep
like
together.
walked
Dr.
over
Freud!
into one.
Paging Dr. Freud!
I don't know. She walks over to her, so I don't know.
My note here says Xena needs a whiskey.
She does.
Because she just looks so upset. You could feel it. Like,
And
you
of
could
course,
see it.
you know, whenever you do the dream within the dream within the dream, that final level of quote unquote reality, how do we know? How do we know that really is Gabs and that
Yeah, is the
blanket
top
burrito?
still spinning?
Yeah, is the top still spinning?
God.
Are they inside the snow globe?
The whole rest of the show is just this dream.
But yeah, and especially when a lot of this is about Gabs being kind of a murderous proto Callisto figure,
Yeah.
that's always a danger. You know, even when Xena's awake, she's afraid that Gabs has become that person. So I love that there's still some doubt at the end of all of this.
Yeah. The next scene is Xena kind of going, Gabrielle, do you dream? Kind of like broaching the subject.
What if she just said no? That's weird, Xena. What's a dream?
Well, so she's like, yeah, I used to dream all the time. And we're like, oh yeah, she's constantly in REM sleep because she sleeps so deep.
All the time sleeping.
Oh, sleepy baby.
But she says that she hasn't
Yeah.
dreamed once since Perdiccas died.
And she said all her stories came from her dreams.
Now the stories aren't there anymore.
Oh, Gab.
She has
And there's
writer's
a good
block.
Xena face. Xena seems very upset.
Oh no.
by that.
Well, it's very
course.
upsetting. This is, as we said when we talked about Return of Callisto, like this is really the most horrible thing that Xena has been indirectly responsible for in
right.
terms
It's a
of
real big one.
Gabrielle. She still has a lot of guilt about that, for sure.
Yeah, she has a lot of guilt in this one.
Is this about guilt?
Maybe.
My favorite.
Favorite good Theodorus.
My favorite good Theodorus is in the next part. Yay! He strings up Joxer because Joxer's been following them trying to get like justice. He's
Right.
trying to get rid of Theodorus himself. And,
Toxer,
yeah.
why does he keep doing these things?
Yeah.
He kind of makes me upset.
What?
I feel like in the really, really
makes a lot
dark
of people
version,
upset.
he makes a lot of people upset. But like in the really, really dark version of this show, like he would just be killed in the
Well,
course
yeah.
of trying to do all these
He would be
ridiculous
killed
things.
immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, immediately.
because, yeah, he's
Um,
really incompetent.
But, you know, He's brave.
I mean, he's sweet. Like in these
that's
episodes,
what
he's
it is.
sweet. Or
Yeah.
like in this one, he's sweet. He was really sweet in
Sits
Return
in
of
my
Callisto.
little Joxer defense corner.
It's alright.
Well, this is the episode where Xena says he has a brave heart.
And he's calling himself Joxer the Magnificent.
Yes, he's magnificent in this.
And Xena could
timeline.
tell that Joxer was following Theodora's
Yeah.
by tracking somehow.
Because
Yeah.
he wears those
Like with the shoes?
500
The 500
dinar boots.
yeah,
Dinar
exactly.
boots.
So
She
she's like, I
recognizes.
sense the designer boots. He is near.
So Jaxer kind of, as he's strung up, bluffs about how there's like the Athenian army coming with Xena, and Theodora's. He's really sensible, you guys. He's like, we gotta go because see all the goons in him run away.
I see. So you love Theodorus for just what a sensible goon he
He's
is.
just
also
sensible and
smart, 'cause
sensitive and kind.
Yeah, he's smart, and he knew everything that was like wrong with Callisto and her
Yeah.
obsessions, and like he,
Right. I love this line
Yeah.
of his right here where he says Callisto died because of her obsession with Xena, not
Yeah.
because Xena killed her.
Yeah.
Xena doesn't get the credit for Callisto's death. Like, Callisto did it
Yep.
to herself.
And he would say that because she didn't love him back.
It's sad.
He's
The
hurt.
tragedy of
Yes.
Theodorus. Vera, you gonna write the fic? It'll be called My Favorite Goon.
Yeah.
I sing a song of Theodorus.
Best of all goons.
Okay.
So Xena, this is my favorite thing. She busts through the wall,
Yeah.
does a little somersault in slow motion,
Yeah.
and then like a little spin to check if anyone's there, and then Gabrielle just like runs through the front door.
Yeah,
It's great.
so extra for no reason. Wonderful.
And then they like comically release Joxer so he falls on his face.
yeah, she lets him hang there for a while. It's like, we see
Yeah.
you. I think we're at the part where Gabs comes up to Xena and gives her a blanket around her shoulders. Little
It's
shoulder
really
blanket.
cute.
Because Xena can't sleep. And
She's
she
really
has
tired.
cold shoulders.
She does have cold shoulders.
She's giving her the cold shoulder.
No.
No, her shoulders are cold.
She's like leaning against a pillar with this little blankie, and she's questioning whether she made the right choice of killing Callisto or like letting Callisto die.
At the time, I thought it was justice, but now I don't know.
And I love Gabrielle's line where she's like, "This is such a mess. You wish you hadn't killed her. Jaxer wishes he had, and I wish she'd never been born." And she's like, "I guess Callisto won after all."
That's really dark. This is why I feel like maybe Xena's already being like, am I asleep? Is this what Gabrielle really feels? Or is this demon Gabs trying to torment me again? Unfortunately, it's real Gabs.
Yeah, it's a good hardcore statement from real Gabs, so
Yeah.
I like it.
And I like the division between, Gabs does not want to kill Callisto. She just wishes Callisto didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wishes somebody else had killed Callisto for her, which is exactly what happened.
So Xena dozes off against the pillar, which is totally believable because you can totally tell she just doesn't sleep really well anymore.
And she sleeps like a horse, standing up.
Okay, way to ruin that sweet moment.
Horses are great!
Yes, yes. So she dozes off, and the next thing you see is Callisto, super creepy.
Such a creeper.
Her eyes here looked too big for her face, like even more than usual. Her eyes always look a little too big for her face,
Oh my
but here
God.
they just looked like really disturbingly huge. And again, not blinking, which is the scariest thing.
And she like silently beckons her with her finger
I
and
call
just like
that
turns
the come hither look.
and turns around real slow and creepy, and Xena follows her, as you do.
Why would you do that, Xena?
She's been beckoned. What can you do?
Oh.
And she enters this crazy room that has like all that dream mist.
It's Tartarus, I think. It's the waiting room in Tartarus.
The crazy waiting room in Tartarus. I really like the lighting. Again, it's consistent with what we've seen of Tartarus. Like
Right,
this.
the kind of neon.
Yeah, well,
glow.
here it's like green. Usually, I mean, before we've seen it as like red and purple, but here it's more greenish. And like, yeah, the consistent like mist, like rock concert mist on the bottom.
Right, just foot mist. I'm always amused by foot mist. Like, why doesn't it rise above the feet level?
That's a science question.
Yeah.
I don't do science.
Yeah, we don't do science here.
Callisto, it turns out, is Ares' new extra special person.
He always tries to get a new extra special person.
Well, this is the first time that
No,
he's
well, I mean,
replaced
he
Xena.
sort of. Remember that guy?
Oh, right.
Like,
right. He
always
used
wants-
that guy, that goon in that
Yeah.
one episode was the new extra special
the
person.
goon who would later be Hades too.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good thing to bring up because this whole episode, Callisto is manipulating Ares.
Yeah.
So it's kind of turning his tricks back upon him. Which
Ares is always, like, he never fully sees the picture.
No.
And he's always, like, reverse manipulated.
It's one of the most amazing things on this show.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it because, he's just always dismissed. He's being used.
Yeah.
He never gets anything that he wants, and it's awesome.
Well, this episode is kind of kicking off the trend in Xena of him being this very pathetic figure.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Well, he's literally pathetic in the next one.
Right, he becomes literally pathetic in the next one, but I almost feel like that's a consequence of what happens to him here, which is he has this great idea, he puts it in action, everything seems perfect, but it just goes wrong because he doesn't understand Callisto at all.
No, I mean, nobody does.
Nobody does. Not even Callisto.
Oh.
Now you have both Ares and Callisto kind of like lurking over Xena's
I
shoulders.
love
Yeah, they're
this.
like angel devil, but not really devil shoulders.
Devil for sure.
Yeah, and then they, like, switch at one point. And
They
it's
twice.
amazing.
They keep switching back and
It's
forth.
so good.
The blocking of the scene is really
Perfect.
great, and it's a single take, so a bit of a
Yeah.
theatrical quality to it.
I love it.
So they're trying to get Xena to confess to murder. And I really actually love that this episode digs in and has this intense conversation about the end of Return of Callisto, and does that count as murder or not? I really actually kind of liked Ares' point that Xena denied Callisto a warrior's death, that she should have had a face-to-face death. That would be the honorable thing. And that letting her die in the quicksand was actually immensely dishonorable and disrespectful.
I like that, yeah. He kept droning on at her, and I like how Xena's like, all right, enough, And then that's where she says, I murdered
But
her.
my question, not saying that I agree or disagree, is that Callisto, has she proven herself in any way worthy of having that kind of warrior
That
death?
would be absolutely the response. And it's true. We know that the thing Callisto wants maybe most of all is to be killed by Xena in that way. So Xena denies her, and I think that actually is an appropriate punishment for Callisto. But I'm glad Ares brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, and then he says, allowing someone to die doesn't soften it. She's still
A murderer.
just watching it happen.
She made the choice.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
saw her make that choice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where she's like, I murdered her.
Yeah.
And they're like, sweet! She said it!
She said the word!
Yeah, so it turns out that dreams are a fine line between the real world and the underworld. So this becomes like the passage for Callisto to be able to switch bodies with, or switch like essences with Xena.
Yeah. Guilt opens a little door in your brain in which another person's consciousness can just walk on through.
Yeah.
Spit on through.
So
Whatever, I don't know.
I guess it's a good time to point out that we've previously seen this, basically all of this except for the body swap, happen in Dreamworker, including the teleportation capabilities of dreams.
Yeah.
And the spinning into a surface.
Ah.
All from Dreamworker, written by Steve Sears.
That's nice. Good job, Steve. Yeah, really like nailing down the like metaphysical rules for Xena.
So for me, I have to admit that the spinning into the rock was like a little bit less awesome looking than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But
I think it's fair to say that it looks silly.
revisiting Dreamworker and seeing it there, I'm like, oh, they were like doing a thing.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Would you
keeping it
rather
consistent.
have Callisto strap on a doodad?
A strap on? What? A doodad? AKA strap on?
A doodad on her
happened?
hand, and then they hold hands,
Yeah.
and there's a flash
Oh, yeah.
of light.
Oh, yeah.
And then Xena wakes up and it's like 5 by 5.
Oh my god. Even her just being like pushed in would be like,
I
not
think
that
The
you can push
Rock
her
should
in,
have
but
been
like,
involved.
maybe no Rock.
I think maybe they could have had another sponsorship from De Beers or
excuse
another
me,
some kind of
like-
diamond thing that could have like they could
listen,
have held.
I know that
touched.
Buffy had the initial doohickey, but then it has a green fucking rock also.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
there you
So
go.
excuse
the
me,
green
a
rock,
green rock always needs
small,
to be involved.
but small.
Beware those green rocks. You're going to
Nobody-
switch bodies.
That's
with your worst
actually a
enemy.
trope, right? Kind
Green
of.
rocks?
Yeah, it's like a Superman thing.
Kryptonite.
Well, yes. I know it's kryptonite, but the trope itself being
That glowing
like
green
a thing
rocks
that
are
does
bad.
something. Yeah.
Buffy and Faith doing like a high five on the doohickey was cool. Like it was really
again,
intimate.
A kind of sexual encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if she just like threw her and spun into a rock? Like it's a little bit less cool.
So, okay, it sounds like
But
we
anyway.
are now bringing in the Buffy episodes into
Yes.
this. The long and short of it is that Buffy did this exact same plot line 3 years later.
Yeah. And it's not to say, like, this is clearly a trope that's been done a lot. Body swapping, generally speaking.
Freaky Friday.
Yeah, which is, like, a nice version, right? What's the other one on the TV tropes called? Grand Theft Me. Which is the more evil version.
Yeah.
So that's like specifically, I think, what we want to talk about is that these two particular sets of characters have a similar antagonistic relationship, right?
And they're both female.
They're
Yeah.
very
And-
much the same kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Let's hear the thesis statement. How is Buffy and Faith like Callisto and Xena?
One blonde, one brunette. Going up against each other. Well, the fact is that they're both foils of the hero, the respective villain.
Callisto and Faith.
Yeah, so they were both created literally for this purpose. So Faith was the other slayer, and she's like the full opposite of Buffy. Buffy has a good life. Faith comes from a shitty life. Xena has, well, she's an established life. I don't call it good. But at least she has a family,
Yeah,
right?
she has a
mother.
loving mother,
Yeah.
which comes up in this
Yeah,
episode.
big time,
Yeah.
big time. Obviously, Callisto does not. They both kind of go through, hell and back kind of situation.
And there's just a lot of psychosexual
Yeah.
tension between these two
Yeah,
sets
because it's
of
like,
women.
who wants to, like, does the villain want to be the hero, or does she want to fuck the hero, or both, or like what?
kill her.
Well, it was the same thing to them.
Fuck, kill, be.
Yeah, and then, like, if they were in the other person's body, would they use that as a chance to, like, start afresh? Like, what would they do there? Blah, blah, blah. It's very close.
It's really close to the point where I am convinced that Joss Whedon is familiar with this particular episode of Xena and kind of is having almost he's rewriting it. He's doing a fanish take on the Xena episodes to kind of do his own thing.
It goes even further than that. If this is your theory, they literally say, "Who are you?" 3 times in this episode. So he's like, great title for my episode.
Well, even the two sets of titles, Intimate Stranger and Who Are You, are very similar. I mean, they're definitely like mining the same questions about identity here.
Yeah. And the fact that both villains hold the mother of the person hostage. Like, Faith holds Joyce Summers hostage.
It's true.
Just basically, like, Callisto here should have been putting the harlot lipstick on herself from Buffy. I guess we should also say that we love the Buffy episodes.
Oh,
It's not
yeah.
like we don't. It's
Oh,
just
for
that
sure.
seeing this and realizing that it was, like, a little bit earlier than that
3 years
Yeah.
earlier.
is really kind of an important realization.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and we'll continue to bring up Who Are You as we move along through
Yeah.
Intimate Stranger, because I think viewing the two plots side by side is really interesting.
They do, and they both have really strong points, and then they both have their lesser strong points.
Yeah, that's why I think Joss
different
was
ways.
watching Intimate Stranger and was like,
Taking notes.
I'd love to take this, but just add this one thing to it. This one thing that was missing, I'm going to add.
Right.
Yeah.
Get rid of that rock.
No rocks.
So Xena, quote unquote, wakes up and immediately you know something's up because she taps Gabrielle on the shoulder, but her hand is a Callisto spider
fingers.
hand. Yeah.
Callisto spider hand.
fingers.
And she's crouched
For sure.
like a cat, which is
Yeah.
also a very Callisto-y physical thing.
They're so good at
They
doing-
are so good.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out, how much of it is mimicry, how much of it is kind of them putting their own spin on these characters. I really love the balance of it because I think if it had been 100% mimicry, it would have felt more like a gimmick. But instead, it is this really fully fleshed out performance for both characters. But then occasionally you have these like line deliveries that are so
scary.
Just scary.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god,
close.
did they just ADR, over that, with the other voice? No, they didn't.
It's so freaky.
They both do it, and it's terrifying.
We were watching these episodes and we're just screaming. We had to keep pausing the episode to scream because it was so freaky.
Yeah.
I was disturbed. Both of these ladies are terrified. Too good at acting.
Yeah. Oh, this show is just so lucky with the people they cast. It's just fucked up how good they are.
Yeah. I mean, you need people who are equals, I think, to really pull off this concept. You want two actresses who are able to do...
I know where this is going.
I think you do. Who can do the work that the other actress is doing and understand, what that work involves. Like, Lucy had to do the thought work of how does Hudson embody this character, and Hudson had to look at Lucy and say, what is Lucy doing? And, on top of that, think about, what is Callisto feeling in this moment, and what is Xena feeling in this moment? So it's kind of like Inception, the layers of performance that have to go into this. One thing that I think is wrong with Joss Whedon's take on the body swap concept is he does not have two actresses of comparable gifts. Yeah. He has Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is amazing at playing Faith, and is definitely kind of...
She did her own thing with it.
Yeah, she didn't go for
mimicry.
mimicry. Yeah. She did not bother with mimicry. She instead really just did her own interpretation of Faith, which was
a little you could see that Faith was in there.
She threw it in, but I feel like hers is much more I'm going to make this my own and really just play the heck out of it, which she did. Meanwhile, you have Eliza Dushku, who is good as Faith.
She's great at
Generally speaking.
Hey. Yeah, that's her one character. She's really great.
I would actually say that my favorite acting moment of hers is actually in that episode.
Which episode?
Who Are You? When
she's mimicking Buffy?
When she's doing the Buffy mimicry. And I felt like that was good. I'm going to give her that. The part about the stevedore. What's the stevedore? Good.
It was good. I feel like it was mostly the writing that made
it's funny.
good.
It's very funny.
Yeah,
very
but I mean,
Joss.
she's I don't want to just diss Eliza Dushku.
No.
Yes, you do. You hate her.
Well, Faith is an iconic character,
she is.
and she did an amazing job in that role. I think she just doesn't have the range. I mean, this part really, if you're doing a body swap, you have to literally ditch everything you do in your own performance and do something completely different. You need a whole other toolbox, and if you don't have one, you're just you can't do this.
That's why she was very wrong for Dollhouse.
Oh gosh, guys, this is not the Diss Eliza Dushku podcast.
Okay, it's not.
But I wanted
Faith is great.
I wanted to sort of bring up how when I watched it with you guys and you guys had never seen it, and I knew that this body swap was coming up, and I was like, okay, I don't doubt Lucy at all. I know she's gonna be great in it. But I was like, I know how you guys really reacted to Faith as Buffy.
I've always been so annoyed
so hard that Hudson wasn't gonna pull it off, and I just didn't remember. But oh my gosh, she was insanely good. Insane.
It's insanely good, and the episode I think makes the smart decision to really give them both a lot to do.
Yeah.
Whereas Who Are You has to go out of its way to sideline Buffy in Faith's body. She's knocked unconscious, she's sedated, she's tied up. It's just literally half the episode is just trying to come up with ways to keep her out of the story.
Yeah.
So, because Eliza Dushku just couldn't do this role, I think.
But it was also kind of a tour de force for Sarah Michelle Gellar. A lot of times the body swaps do that. They take the person who's on the show, who's the main star, and give them the episode, really. And you have scenes with the other one because you can't just drop the actual character in that body, but it's more about the actor acting.
And Intimate Stranger does give the juiciest material to Lucy.
Of course. Yeah.
For sure.
She's so good.
Okay, so getting back into the run of the episode.
So how should we refer to them?
I would say Callisto as Xena.
Callisto Xena? Okay.
Callisto as Xena or Callisto Xena? No, that's confusing because then you have Xena, Callisto,
Xena, Callisto.
I think we could just call them Callisto and Xena from henceforth. Yeah. They are.
We understand that Callisto is in Xena's body and Xena is in Callisto. We will refer to them by their names.
Yeah.
Whose names?
Jeez, Callisto.
Who are you?
Who wakes up right now?
Callisto.
Callisto in Xena's body wakes up, okay?
Yeah.
And taps Gabrielle on the shoulder, with her spider hands, as we mentioned. She's like, I understand now. Callisto's out of Tartarus, and we have to go to Amphipolis?
She thinks that Callisto is
Right.
gonna go kill her mother.
Right.
That's her stated reason for needing to go to Amphipolis. I was really weirded out by her leaving Jaxer behind.
Why?
I just didn't understand why Callisto was threatened by the presence of Jaxer.
She wasn't threatened. She was literally acting like how I'm probably assuming most of fandom at this time wanted it to be, which is leave him. He shouldn't be with us. Like, just get rid of him.
Callisto, we love your priorities then.
No.
To me, it felt
makes
like she
total
was
sense.
like, in order to make you more vulnerable, Gabrielle, I'm going to leave Jaxer behind. And I was like, girl, he's not a threat.
It wasn't like that. It was literally like, get rid of the baggage. So throughout the episode, I mean, I know that like the Argo situation was a little bit more than just get rid of the horse that was having trouble like following her. It was more like just get to the point, like that's how she is. She wants to get to the point.
And Callisto is all about Xena, know, and for her, Gabrielle is an extension of Xena, so she wants some intimate alone time with
Yeah, she
Gabrielle.
has to take it around. Yeah, that makes total sense. So the next part is the beginning of some really great stuff, which is Argo is having trouble because...
Who are you?
Exactly. Argo senses something's up with Xena. And I love all the horse acting in this episode.
It's really good. I was a little afraid. I was like, what have they done to this poor horse? His eyes are rolling, or her eyes. Excuse me. I just misgendered Tilly.
Argo's misgendered all the time.
I'm sorry.
Even by the characters on the show.
But yeah, I love all the material for Argo this episode. It's really upsetting. So I love that Callisto starts guilt-tripping Gabs for not having killed Callisto. And this is when Lucy's performance really kicks in.
Oh my god.
The way she says this line, like, oh man, I didn't write it down actually.
The guilt is gonna destroy me.
Oh yeah.
So good.
Is cheekbone acting a thing? Because she's doing it.
She's doing cheekbone acting.
She's doing cheekbone
her
acting.
eyebrows draw up
Yeah.
in this way that is so Hudson, like this
Yeah.
sort of like little girl pout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like oh my god, I just want to, like her mouth too does like a lot of just Hudson performance. It's crazy.
And it's also just really funny that she keeps delivering her lines like to the middle distance, kind of looking off evilly.
Yeah.
No, the two of them, the physicality in this is insane. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Like down to the littlest thing.
Littlest things.
Like how you could tell that Callisto wasn't Xena's body when she first had her little spider fingers.
Yeah.
When Xena wakes up in Tartarus in Callisto's body, like the way she stands up with her legs, like they're just like her legs are a particular like distance apart, and like she pushes herself up in this particular way.
Because she thinks she's in a body of a person
like,
that's like a little bit larger.
It's insane. It's amazing. Yeah,
it's great.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's also wonderful because it puts into perspective like what these actresses are doing all the time when they play their regular roles. You realize how much of like Lucy's physicality is being Xena-ified. Like that's not Lucy. That's stuff Lucy is doing. Yeah. And same for Hudson. Like all the feline stuff, the way she kind of holds her arms out from her body. Mm-hmm. This is a choice that then another actor can also make to embody that character.
Right. So Callisto lays down the plan that she's gonna take out Theodorus, and then the rest of the army will follow her.
Be so stupid that they'll follow her. And I wrote down the word stupid because I was like, that is not a Xena word. That is a Callisto word. So I love that it bleeds in these tiny, subtle ways.
So you mentioned that Xena wakes up in Tartarus.
Oh, wait, but also Callisto making out with Ares.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
we forgot about that.
Interesting, because that has heretofore not been a thing that Callisto does with men or anyone. Right. But she knows what she wants and how to get what she wants.
And I love that in the midst of the makeout session, she pulls away and says, I wonder how Xena's coping in Tartarus right now. Yeah. So we see what Callisto has to think about in order to have a fun time. Yeah.
I feel like everything is already a plan because she immediately wakes up and says we gotta go to Amphipolis. So this part, like a part of her plan, has been formed. Like while they were getting Xena to say the word murderer, she's already had this whole thing in her mind.
This is why she wants to come back to life. She has no interest in being Ares' new partner, in being a warlord for peace and prosperity and all this nonsense. That is so not who she is.
All of her plan is to do with revenge on Xena, so I feel like making out with Ares is already part of that revenge.
Yes.
So
it's not, I don't even know if it's about her trying to control Ares so much as just her being like, wait till Xena finds out about this.
Yes, I think so. I really do.
Ooh, that is so... I mean, here's another parallel with Buffy, where you have these non-consensual sexual encounters that are really complicated by a body swap. This is Callisto
raping Xena.
Yeah. And then you have in Who Are You, Faith in Buffy's body has sex with Buffy's boyfriend, Riley. Right. And that, too, is just a really complicated situation in terms of consent. Like, Riley thinks he's having sex with Buffy, and he's not. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like an extra step, too, for Callisto to rape Xena's body.
Callisto, girl, you are a freak.
But is this like another...
This is the most complicated supernatural trope ever. It's fascinating, I think.
This is the only way that she could, like, fuck Xena herself. To be in Xena's body.
In some ways, yeah.
It's amazing. Xena, oh my god, in Callisto's body wakes up in Tartarus. We already mentioned her physicality. But this is really great because Hades is like, what's up? Is this the Hades part?
Yeah, because he's like, you're just trying to trick me, Callisto, or whatever. And the way that Xena convinces Hades that she is in fact Xena is to like tell him all this stuff about Marcus, and you know, she stabbed him.
I stabbed him in the heart because I love him.
Yeah.
Which is maybe something Callisto might say. Whoops.
Do the Hades line, because it's the best.
I didn't write down the Hades line.
He's just like, like, no one would know that but Marcus, and he wouldn't tell anyone. You're definitely Xena now.
Like 16-year-old high school girl to be like, oh my god, well, she would never tell anyone. Yeah. I trust her with all my secrets.
You remember him from that episode.
I just like that he was just so easily convinced. Like, he was just like, oh yeah, he would never tell anyone. You're definitely Xena. What the hell?
So he gives her one day to track down Callisto in Xena's body and make the switch somehow. It's not even clear how he expects Xena to make this right, but he gives her some time.
Well, the next scene is amazing, so let's begin. It starts with a sunrise. Whoa. We've seen this before.
Oh, geez. TJ, is that you?
Yeah, and we hear again, and it's another kind of Gabrielle versus tree and a weapon. Mm-hmm. This time it's quote-unquote Xena teaching her how to kill.
This is a direct restaging of the scene in Return of Callisto, quite consciously, right down to the again, which we talked about as a sex scene. It's maybe not quite a sex scene here. Gabrielle is not into it, for sure.
Yeah, she's really not feeling it quite the same way as before. She's like, this is new to me, because Callisto is teaching her to channel her rage.
Yeah, and she says, I don't want to go there again.
Yeah.
Which is so heartbreaking. You know, she's really put this idea of vengeance away, and Callisto's trying quite forcibly to reawaken it in her, and it's so upsetting to watch.
It's so upsetting watching Callisto doing this as Xena, and Gabrielle at this point has no clue anything is wrong, so it's really uncomfortable to watch.
TBH, like, I feel like there were so many already kind of warning signs.
I know.
It's actually so weird.
But it's not a thing. This is what's complicated about that trope. It's just like, that's not a thing that you, like, are going to think of immediately. Oh, you're not my friend. Someone has taken over your body.
No, but she should be like, why are you acting like this?
I know.
You know, that should be a question.
Well, we know that she's really sleep deprived. Yeah. So maybe I can see Gabrielle being like, oh, Xena hasn't been herself for a while now. So this is just even weirder.
Yeah.
But obviously the greatest moment in this scene is when Callisto can't help herself and is just like, all right, Gabrielle, I'm Callisto right here in front of you. I just look like Xena, but really, I'm Callisto. Which is brilliant. brilliant. It's so brilliant. And Renee's response, like just this silent staring, is wonderful because you can tell on her face that Gabrielle in this moment does see Callisto. In part because Lucy is so perfectly being Callisto for these lines. I love how she says, "Put me out of my misery," and you hear the smile in her voice, which is such a Callisto thing.
And she does get a rage moment response from Gabrielle. She staff hits her in the boob, right in the breast dagger. TBH.
Oh, it's true.
It must have hurt. And
it does hurt. Like she has the wind knocked out of her.
Exactly.
And she says, "For a second there, I thought you were Callisto, and I hated you." As Callisto is delivering the next lines about how hatred isn't something to be afraid of, like for some of us, it's all we know. She's tying the breast dagger to the staff as she says this. So she's weaponizing Gabrielle, like as she kind of imparts her worldview to her.
I love that she already had the little piece of string kind of hanging off, ready to go. She already planned this.
She totally planned this. She plans everything. I love that shot of Gabrielle then looking at the staff with the dagger on top of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The camera kind of moves up, like cranes up, and you have this overhead shot.
So wrong. It looks so wrong.
It's like an epic moment. Yeah. Callisto's like, I gotta go take care of the idiot who's following us or something like that.
Which turns out to be Ares.
Yeah. So she has a private scene with Ares where they fight. And Lucy makes all the Hudson as Callisto noises.
She's even more vocal than Hudson, which I don't have a problem with. It's so much fun. When they finally fight each other, it's the highest pitch fight scene ever in Xena. It's just like
all the dogs.
Yeah, all the dogs are like, what?
Yeah. But Ares is like, Callisto, don't go after Xena. Don't do this shit. You have one job.
Yeah, it's literally so easy for her to... it's not easy for her to do, obviously. It's the number one thing that she can't do is stay away from Xena. But all she had to do was just, sit on her hands for a day. And she would have been free.
Yeah.
Nope.
And not only that, but she could have killed Argo and Gabrielle and gotten her revenge and then run off and be free. There was such a streamlined version of this plan, and she just can't do it because for her what's important is actually being there and seeing Xena.
Yeah, of course.
She needs that.
She needs her satisfaction.
I love that. I love that at first, Ares assumes satisfaction means he obviously thinks satisfaction means because that's his satisfaction.
Right. Because then they have the sex scene.
But we find out that Callisto's satisfaction has absolutely nothing to do with having sex with Ares.
That's right. F that guy. So they have sex, and I love that she returns kind of adjusting her clothes, her breastplate and stuff, and she grabs the water because you got to stay hydrated, guys. Make sure you drink that H2O. And that's where she looks at Argo. So I feel do you think she already had the plan to hurt Argo, or did it happen right then?
Well, she walks past Argo, and Argo once again kind of bucks and neighs.
Yeah, makes the noise.
And I think maybe she finally is fed up and realizes this could expose her. Gabrielle will eventually wonder if something is actually wrong with Xena, not wrong with Argo. So I assume in this moment she decides to dispatch Argo.
And so she's like, okay, Gabrielle, go on ahead. I have to bury the saddle and hide all the bridle or whatever.
And Gabrielle is getting resistant here. I feel she's beginning to say why is ordering me to do all this weird stuff?
Yeah.
This is not at all characteristic behavior.
So Callisto's alone with Argo, and the scene is amazing.
It's so scary. I think this is the scariest moment in the whole episode.
Yeah, you have Argo POV, which looks like a fisheye lens kind of, but you hear Argo's breathing.
Yeah, and the heartbeat.
Yeah, so you're inside Argo.
Yeah, you are Argo in this moment.
Visually, this mirrors the part in Who Are You where Faith in Buffy's body has that bath and goes at the mirror. So I like that. Both episodes kind of have that.
Staring into the camera.
Joss definitely saw this. And Callisto takes her sword out and is threatening.
And she sort of douses Argo
with the water. That was the worst part.
Well, that was so visceral.
Shocking.
Yeah.
She really threw water at
Poor Tilly.
Yeah. sad.
They're really hardcore on this show. Okay?
You know, Argo isn't innocent. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Gabrielle is too, but somehow you don't really fear that Callisto will murder Gabrielle or Gabrielle's innocence. Whereas I was really worried for Argo in this moment. It just, you felt Argo trusts this person and this person is homicidal.
Yeah, but she goes over the whole issue where Argo just can't figure out, like, what is this person? Because it looks and smells like Xena, but isn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're left with the most cliffhangery act break ever.
And in terms of act breaks, this one is horrifying because she really does do what it appears she's done. She gives Argo what seems like a mortal wound.
Yeah.
And then Xena finds her.
Yeah, it's this white shot. She's like laying there.
It's
And it's really
so upsetting.
So upsetting, yeah. She has this wound on her chest, and Xena thankfully knows horse
CPR.
CPR.
No.
It's the same. It's a mirror of is there a doctor in the house?
Of course,
She's
medicine.
like, come on, Argo, come
No,
on.
Jesus.
No. Argo has like a lung wound,
Yeah.
and she knows like horse bodies too. She can field medicine the shit out of this. She does.
And Joxer comes up
Yeah.
to her in the course of this. And this is a fun scene. I enjoy this
Yeah,
scene.
it's a great scene.
I love that when she tries to explain to Joxer that she's Xena, he gives her this big ol' eye roll.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, because Xena is always eye rolling at him,
Yeah.
this felt very satisfying.
Yeah.
He gets to do one back.
I agree.
And she proves it via the pressure points.
Yeah.
Which I thought was neat, especially because she's attacking him. I love that in the course of attacking him, he's like, oh, okay, you're not Callisto.
Yeah, and I love that the last one, the one that takes the pressure point off, like she sort of does it like offhand, like she forgot to do that one. She's like, oh yeah,
Okay, he believes me, he's fine. And then her praise for him, I thought was really nice, that she is amazed that he would defend Argo from Callisto.
Yeah.
You know, not even a human life, but an animal. Like, that's really sweet. It is a nice thing
This
that
is
Joxer
when she
does.
calls him brave.
Okay,
All right.
So, guys, guess
Yeah.
what? Callisto
Your favorite goon!
kills Theodorus.
Sorry.
But it's in a cool way. So she comes in and Theodorus is like, put your weapons down. She's not going to kill us unless provoked. And he's so smart, you guys. He's so smart. But she's like, LOL, and just slits his throat and has like the biggest orgasm ever.
Oh my god. The subtitle, when you look at it in Hulu with the closed captions, is chuckles ecstatically.
That's very Callisto, I feel.
Yeah.
Always chuckling ecstatically.
So this is not her satisfaction per se, but maybe a
No.
little distant echo of it.
But it is her plan. She kills him and comes up to this guy named Gracias, but like it just sounds like she's like, Gracias. And she's like, you gonna follow me? And draws like a big X on his chest with the blood of Theodorus.
That was a cool detail.
It was so cool. And they're like, yep, we're gonna follow you. And she's like, well, and they're like, oh, right. Xena.
You know, it's so easy for her to take control of this army because this is her army. So
Yeah.
I feel like they don't care that she looks like Xena. They're like, oh yeah, we recognize this energy. This is the person.
By
we
the
follow.
way that those guys behave, it's like they're perfect army soldiers because they follow anyone in charge. Because they followed Callisto, they followed Theodorus, and they follow Xena to the point where she's like, do this and that, understand? And he's like, no, but it'll be done. You know, that's literally a line he says. All right, so we cut back to Xena in Callisto's body with Joxer, and she's like, oh, I hear something weird, and like she's not used to the body yet, so she can't quite tell what's going on. And
even
there's-
though it's the noise of her own chakra.
I know, well, you don't know that yet.
Oh, I'm
there's,
sorry.
There's a zoom in on her ear because she's listening, and then you slowly the sound of the chakra appears, and then you see the chakra. Oh yeah, and she like elbows Joxer and catches it. And then she's like, take a nap, right, to him? Which is
Yeah.
weird. I don't know.
It was a little bit like not the moment to be
I was
doing a one-liner.
Yeah, exactly. And it was something like Callisto would say, like literal Callisto. But anyway, she catches the shock room, and
Which is a callback to Return of Callisto
all of
and
it.
Callisto and all the chakram stealing action. And I just had a thought that, the way we've talked about Callisto is this appropriative person who loves to steal the chakram and generally steal all of Xena's nice stuff. Here she's taken it one step further and
Stole her body.
Stolen the body. So
Yeah.
that's the ultimate fan action.
Oh,
She's
no.
cosplaying.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. So this is the big set piece. Xena versus Callisto fight within the other bodies.
Yeah. And I love that immediately Callisto in Xena's body says about the chakram, throw it and I'll just catch it.
Yeah.
Like, I love that it kind of renders a lot of, like, their weapons kind of moot. Like,
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
useful.
But she could have done, like, she has done that just in
Yeah.
general. So
Yeah,
it was
do
a
it.
skill she could do it
She can do it
always.
even better when she is in Xena's body.
I think there should have been a moment where she should have been getting used to how much bigger his body is than hers, There's like a different gravity situation. It's just, I don't know. Because if Xena can't tell, like, in that body, the sound, then Callisto should be like, whoa, this one moves different.
Well, I like that there's that moment here in this fight where Callisto says, oh, I like that move about the kind of stairs kick.
that Street Fighter.
Climb up your body with my legs kicking
Yeah.
fight move. I love that then she mimics it in Xena's body. She finds it really easy. It's really a clever moment where you see Callisto learning from Xena.
This part, I have just, like, acting in all caps
Yeah.
on my notes.
It's one thing to mimic the way someone speaks or the way someone moves in, like, a scene with dialogue. It is a whole nother can of worms to mimic someone's fighting style.
But also the dialogue where she's like, oh, Gabrielle's my little friend now. And all that stuff.
It's true.
Because you
Oh,
keep
this is
coming
the
back.
Beta look part.
Yeah, but you keep cutting back to
Hudson.
Hudson, and she's just like the dead-on stare.
Yeah,
like
the stare.
still
Even
face.
something like that, which is just, it seems like she's not doing anything,
Yeah.
is doing a lot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's just not having it in a way that Xena would not be having it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile,
Staring.
Callisto is just getting sillier and sillier. Just
Yeah.
like totally vamping. You get to hear Hudson's attempt at the war cry.
I know that she only does it like twice because it's like no one can really do it.
It's hard. Yeah, she can't quite make it work.
She
but
changed it to like la la la. It's a different thing she did, but
she gets away with it because
Yeah.
you see that the intention is there. Lucy is doing Callisto screaming,
Yeah.
and Hudson is trying to do that war cry.
But Lucy's a really gifted, like, vocal mimic, as we know from the greatest thing she's ever done, which is Stevie Nicks' Fajita Roundup
Oh my god.
on SNL.
The best.
She is incredibly gifted
And
in
I
that.
see my reflection
Oh, no.
in a big pile of nachos.
So good.
Oh, God.
It's the best.
Burrito dreams.
So then Gabrielle comes in and holds her staff with breast dagger attached to Xena in Callisto's body.
Right, because Xena did get the upper hand on Callisto.
Yeah, she's like
and
sitting, she's straddling
Yes,
Callisto.
and they're struggling over a dagger, and then as soon as Gabrielle comes up behind her, Callisto moves the dagger like from her chest to her neck. Like,
It's so
save
cute.
me, Gabrielle! Like,
And then we must prove
we gotta prove
who's
it.
who once again by asking questions that only the right person will know the answer to. So
Callisto asks her,
Continue.
no, Xena, damn it, I will never get this
You'll
straight.
never get it right.
It's really hard.
Xena goes, what did you dream of after Perdiccas died?
Callisto has a good. She does her best to have a guess. And says, like, you've been waiting for this moment to get your vengeance. Like,
Yeah.
that's a reasonable guess.
It's an educated guess.
And that's
then-
what she always thinks Gabrielle is
exactly,
going
what
to do,
people
which is
want,
always wrong.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so then Gabrielle, of course, immediately knows that a crazy thing has happened and now is very confused.
I think she should have asked her what Gabrielle told her in Dreamworker, which is that she was born with 6 toes.
Oh, that's right.
That's a secret.
That would have been the
Secret.
hilarious version
yeah,
of
that-
the scene.
That's a secret that only her mother, herself, and Xena know. It's gone now, though. It's fine.
It's
Her
gone
foot
now.
is fine.
Less thematically relevant.
But, relevant within these episodes. They're very similar.
So Gabs does at least step away and lets Xena / Callisto escape.
And she grabs the chakram and GTFOs on the horse. Oh, and before she does, she like throws the dagger
At Gabrielle, which I feel like is the final moment when Gabrielle's like, okay, I understand what's going on. This one saved me. This one tried to kill me. I think I know who's who.
Yeah.
But I love that even after that, she sort of says Xena. It's she says it correctly, but she seems like she's not quite sure she did.
Because it's so weird.
That's how she does that later too. Yeah. Everybody kind of like reacts that way.
But this is the best Hudson as Xena acting. Where
this was another scream.
I was like, did they ADR that? What just happened?
Yeah.
But like, so she puts her hand on Gabrielle's shoulder and it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's perfect.
Are you really
so
Xena?
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's so perfect.
She does it in that
And it's
lower
funny
octave.
because Hudson is so much smaller than
But she's
Lucy
still
Lawless.
bigger, so it's still tall small.
But it's you kind of feel like she's taller than she is in that moment by putting her hand on Gabrielle's shoulder. It's so good. It's so perfect. What a perfect little beat. And it is eerie. It is so
it's
eerie.
It's really eerie.
She
that
speaks with that sort of lower register. They
Yeah.
both do that. Hudson speaks lower and Lucy speaks a little higher.
Yeah.
It really works.
As per plan, the goons take all the people from Amphipolis and take them into this cave and stick them in this cage in this cave, and they're going to burn them so that Xena could see her Amphipolis people and her mom be burnt.
It's really sad, that moment between Cyrene and Callisto as Xena.
Yeah, because she's like, what the fuck?
She doesn't know, yeah.
To Cyrene, it's really believable that Xena has lost her marbles again and is being crazy.
Right, and so many of the villagers of Amphipolis hate Xena for doing shit like this. So this feels
It's really bad.
like kind of believable as something Xena would do. If anything, I almost wish the episode had got a little further here, if there had been a little more time to actually have that note struck that actually everybody believes Xena could do this.
And then Lucy playing Callisto at that moment is extra super scary because she like does this thing with her face through the bars of the cell. Crazy eyes for sure.
There's definitely some crazy eyes happening.
Yeah, but also like she doesn't know what Cyrene looks like. So, but at this moment she clearly figures it out because she's like, when you light this place up, make sure that this lady gets it first.
Yeah. She calls herself like a daughter.
Yeah.
Which is setting up the climax of this episode. So it's nice that you have this moment between Callisto and a mother, because so much of who Callisto is molded by this relationship to her own lost mother.
Xena's plan is now to throw a bunch of oil at this cell area.
That is a crazy plan.
That's
they
like
really
a little
could
risky.
have just burnt
really
everything.
risky. Yeah,
but they didn't.
No, because the goons all like put out the torches immediately and they run away.
Also, we have Ares come in.
Yeah, Ares is like extra pissed right now because he feels used at this moment.
He feels used because Callisto's like, I used you. Ha 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 ha. You mean nothing to me. All my anger and hatred is for Xena alone, which you could totally add in my love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's fabulous.
And then she said, no man or God tells me what to do. And I think that's a really good line.
And another one where it sounded eerily like Hudson. So well done, Lucy, again.
Xena as Callisto like starts glowing because her 24 hours seem to be up. But before she does, she like throws the dart at Callisto, Xena, which is very similar to Lord Seltzer episode.
Great or Good, which Gary Jones directed.
Oh, he's like, make sure.
And Steve Sears wrote.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And they even use the music, I noticed, that plays when Callisto first shoots Xena with that dart.
I'm assuming they didn't use that Telmic poison though, because
no, this clearly is some different poison.
It's just like sleep.
Yeah, just
sleep
a
drug.
sleep aid.
Yeah. Callisto tries to, with her last strength, tries to kill Cyrene, but like falls over.
With a grabby hand.
Yeah, grabby hand, a camera, falls over. And we're back in the underworld.
Mm-hmm. I thought this was interesting. This is a dream. And yet, even in the dream, they're in each other's body.
Well, they can't switch
but it's
it.
real.
Yeah.
It's real dream.
It's
It's blurry.
They're really in Tartarus.
So they're
It's
not
in that
they're
weird blurry
still,
part where...
Yeah.
I noticed in this moment one thing which really has been operating throughout this episode, but you hear Xena as Callisto, or rather, you hear Lucy Lawless
Yes, thank you.
saying Xena. And she has been doing this throughout the episode where whenever she says Xena, she says it just like how Hudson does, which is just like, Xena.
The heart eye emoji.
Which is such I mean, it's so brilliant. It's so spot on. I also noticed that Hudson, as Xena, always says Ares. Like, hello, Newman. Like, they both get these little character notes so perfectly, because of course that's how Callisto says Xena, and of course that's how Xena says Ares. So it's just so good, so well thought out.
So they're now in this weird dream state, right? And we have the rules about thinking of the dead come back, where they can hear your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Which is how Callisto's mother appears.
There she is, a blonde lady.
Yeah, really good casting. She looks good. She looks like her.
But Xena's plan here is to turn Callisto's guilt on her, which includes like this mother being like, "Well, I'm disappointed in you. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed."
Yeah, it's the Cyrene move. Like you became a warlord. That's not what I wanted.
Yeah. Her reaction is just very like shocked little girl.
Yeah,
it's really,
mama.
Really,
she
it's really
says.
upsetting.
Yeah, perfect acting by Lucy. And here I think is a moment where Lucy almost gets to then kind of do her own thing. Like this is something we've never seen from Callisto, which is guilt and remorse. So this is kind of a little bit from the Sarah Michelle Gellar playbook, where she's kind of just doing a mental breakdown of this character, and it's amazing.
You see a lot of her past victims start coming out of the mist. Which directly
Dreamworker.
Yeah, directly Dreamworker, including the line about the faces. What was that line, Olivia?
How many of your victims had faces? I really hope it's all of them. I hope they all had faces.
No, because in Dreamworker, the guy goes to Xena, your victims are always faceless. So her victims were faceless. They had no faces.
What happened to their faces?
I don't know. She chose faceless people to kill.
I see.
This is confusing.
Yeah. But
really,
I think
they all had faces. They all had them, you guys. That's the point.
But I guess if you're in
they
that
were all
state,
people with a face.
If you're driven by hatred, you can't see faces. You have that kind of face blindness thing from that one movie.
They have face blindness.
With Mila Jovovich.
It's pronounced Jovovich.
Oh, excuse me.
These people really get to Callisto. And
And sidebar, this is the ending of Who Are You? Mm-hmm. So Josk steals like a mofro. mofro. From this moment. And really, I mean, I think sells this even better than the Xena episode does. He has Faith have a mental breakdown from the experience of being Buffy, of being in Buffy's body, and shouldering Buffy's responsibilities and her moral code. There's that repeated line about, like, because it's wrong, which she eventually says seriously.
That moment is extra powerful because Faith in Buffy's body chose to live as Buffy. And this is a little bit different. It's kind of like what I wished for the next episode, where I wanted Xena to continue like living in Callisto's body and trying to reform Callisto as how she reformed herself. Like,
that's true. It's a lot harder to have like an identity crisis when you're really not working very hard to be that person you're pretending to be.
Yeah.
But I like that even here in Intimate Stranger, you have Callisto experiencing this moment, having a mirror image moment of guilt.
Yeah, exactly. She spins into the rock.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what happens when you realize you're a murderer. You just start spinning.
So the spinning in Dreamworker, to refresh, was when Xena fought her evil double, who wears those contacts that Callisto...
Right, the demon contacts.
Yeah, the demon contacts. They're one pair. And Xena spins her into the doors, and that's how she's able to teleport to Gabrielle. So here... Callisto spins guiltily away like a little top. Oh, Inception! It's
she's the Inception top. Spinning.
Really, they're both just spinning, and from this moment on, we don't know what's real and what's not.
So we're like, oh, the episode is over, and Xena's gonna wake up as Xena, but.
Because that would make sense.
That makes sense.
In this episode.
Yeah, but that does not happen. She wakes up still as Callisto.
Ruh-roh.
And everyone kind of is like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that
Found
there's
it.
this sort of, celebration, and they're all kind of like hesitantly approaching, even though she's proved to Gabrielle that she is Xena with a very nice line, but at the same time everyone's like, ah!
Yeah, like the moment with Cyrene is actually really truly touching because she's like
She touches her face.
she touches her face, like accepts her very like hesitantly.
You're
but it's,
my new daughter
yeah.
now.
Yeah. and the Amphipolis music plays.
Yes,
and
and
it's
beautiful,
actually really beautiful.
music.
And that's the end of the episode, correct?
Well,
Sort
then
of.
Gabs
Sort
and
of.
Xena
Oh, right.
have a little
Oh, right.
talk.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I decided to like X out the heterosexual poem.
Where, like, Gabs has to be like, get, dealing with her best friend and her worst enemy's body.
Yeah.
And then
Really
she's got to
upsetting
deal
for
with
her.
it.
Like, this is the face of the person who killed her husband.
The man she loves.
The man she
Son
loves.
of Perdiccas.
The girl she loves stuck in the body of the girl she hates.
Oh boy.
It's
Juicy.
But I love that, like, Xena is just so not... It's not
She
a problem for
does
her.
not have a problem with this
Nah.
at all.
She's just like, yeah, I look like this now. Shrug.
Yeah. She accepts it so hard, like so fast.
Right.
Yeah, and Gabrielle has started dreaming again. Yay!
Yay. She got her mojo.
Yeah, so she wrote a new poem about birds, and that's how it ends. Lovely
Walk off
birds.
into the sunset and you're like, happy ending?
What just happened?
Yeah.
What
Okay.
just happened, show? Are
Yeah.
you okay, show? And the answer is no.
No.
Sorry.
Sadness and woe. All right, so what went down? Let's talk about it. I wonder if there are people who don't know who are listening.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Well, there was a different ending to
Yes.
Intimate Stranger that we will link to. It is on YouTube.
The original ending.
The original ending,
The ending that makes sense.
right.
Maybe the more natural ending.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Way more natural, where Xena is Xena in her own body,
Yep.
again at the end. Everything is restored and great.
She and Gabrielle walk off into the sunset with no awkwardness.
Oh, yeah, and there's a great line.
Yes.
Like where Gabrielle talks about if Xena was about to be killed, like that she felt like she would do something, but she didn't want to, right? I can't remember the exact
Well,
line.
the answer to that is she sensed on some level that something was wrong, that the person in danger wasn't really Xena. So actually her instincts are really great and she shouldn't be second guessing herself. But yeah, it's a nice line in the alternate version of the ending.
It just made me think of later.
Well,
Ah.
foreshadowing is always something that's going on this show because it's a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Callisto gets ripped apart by that rock.
Yeah,
bad.
it like sprouts a bunch of hands and they like grope her and grab her and like pull her into pieces or something. I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's
they
a
rip
lot
her
less.
apart. They don't quite grope her, I don't think. It's
I
not
don't know.
repulsion, really.
Oh, jeez.
It's definitely influenced by
Yes.
repulsion.
Whenever you
gosh.
have hands sticking out of something like a wall or a rock, grabbing at a lady, that's repulsion.
Oh man. But anyway,
Well, it looked freaky.
It looked
There's
freaky.
no
We-
video of that
yeah.
I'm aware of.
No, yeah.
and that would have been
Just
it
picture.
for Callisto forever. It sounds like that would have been the end of her 3-episode arc. She would have been guilted to death.
I can't imagine them not coming up with a crazy way to bring her back still later, just cause.
I mean, they love this actress
Yeah.
so much; it's impossible to imagine, in season 3 that
Yeah.
they wouldn't come up with something. But instead, she's actually in the next episode.
yes. They got her sooner rather than later.
Xena is still Callisto at the end
Yeah.
of Intimate Stranger.
And the reason for that is, Vera,
Vera.
it's up to you. I would know how to even broach this very upsetting topic.
Well, in October of 1996, Lucy was scheduled to be on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and I guess before the actual taping of the show, they were filming a skit, which involved her riding a horse. It is a terrible skit. It is available online if you want to see it. That exists.
Gilbert Gottfried is
Yeah,
involved.
it's roast beef is involved, like bread. Anyway, she chops his head off. That's fine. But she rides in on a horse, and that's the main part. And then while filming this, the horse slipped, and Lucy fell and fractured her pelvis and I think got a concussion. But
Oy.
yes, she was injured, basically.
This was in view of fans watching.
I know.
Yeah, so yeah, there's also like a intense account of fans reacting to this and like kind of gathering their information.
I had trouble sleeping for a couple of weeks. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see Lucy on the horse riding down the driveway, stopping, turning, smiling that beautiful smile of hers. It's rough. It's very sad.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
This was traumatizing for quite a few people.
Yeah, and I wonder if any of you listeners either were there or knew like of this, have an account of this, like via being on the internet at the time, because it seems like people were like kind of figuring stuff out and like
the way fandom pulled together and reacted and shared information in the aftermath of this seems very kind of novel for the time.
I mean, this was like a huge moment for me because I definitely, so this was a Tuesday. I looked it up. No, I looked it up. I looked it up. I don't remember. This was a Tuesday because it corroborated my memory, which is that, remember how we, in whichever podcast, mentioned how Bruce Campbell had his ritual coming home after school.
Yeah, watching.
Eating the rice pudding
Stooges.
and watching the Stooges. So same thing here. Like my grandparents picked me up. I sort of like had my dinner and watched like Power Rangers and TNG reruns, like whatever was on at 4 o'clock. Then there was that like dull period at 5 when there was the news, the local news.
Not the news.
Yeah, it's probably where I did my homework. But then after that came on Entertainment Tonight. And I for sure vividly remember Entertainment Tonight breaking this story. And I believe that fan account mentions how they filmed. They used
what they felt was very exploitative footage.
And it seared into my brain. It was like, now I can't remember if it was just her laying there on the pavement, like with like a white sheet, kind of like,
oh my God,
like covering her, or if that was like her being put into the ambulance. Like,
who was there filming that? That's awful.
I don't know, but that was definitely like the image that stuck. So that's how I found out about this. And I also very much specifically remember that watching the end of this episode aired in November, so it's like a month later. Obviously, everybody knew what was going on. And I remember like the ending here, and I was like, this feels forced.
Well,
I was a little judgy bitch.
Judgmental.
I don't know. It's crazy that this is a thing that is just seared into my brain. That's all.
No, it would be.
It's upsetting, and this is a
This
show
was
that you're
huge for
just
me. I
really
was
getting
obsessed
obsessed
with
with.
this show. Yeah.
To have this happen to the actress, we love how great she is at riding that horse. Like, it's such a
no, I mean this was
beloved mental
this
image.
was like a big deal because
Yeah.
when did Christopher Reeve have his accident? Like around the same time, and that was like really massive.
I think late 90s.
So it's really scary.
I thought that was an interesting detail about like the different horses in the United States. This one would have been ridden differently or something.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of partly why.
It's the saddle, right?
Yeah.
So
English saddle versus.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know anything about riding horses.
Yes, it was really traumatizing and awful. But at the same time, it was like weirdly a blessing in disguise because it propelled the show, national TV and everything like that, and gave it a lot of press.
Didn't she say it gave them like free
no,
press?
it was. That's what it was.
It's terrible.
Strange way
She
of
said
finding
it.
out about the show's existence via this story.
Publicity is weird.
terrible.
Like you're sitting around watching your E.T., your Mary Hart and Bob Cohen.
I'm fine with saying it if she was the one that said it.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like she has a really great attitude about all of this, especially now.
Yeah. Oh, and I love that account that said like she sent Rob to talk to like fans who had gone to it. Like we're at like dinner and literally sent him to go.
Yeah, like
tell
an
them
hour
stuff.
after
like,
the accident. Like it's
What a
amazing
good
how
dude.
quickly they
Good
thought
people.
to alert the fans.
Yeah.
Like that is not something they were at all obligated to do. And it says like it really was Lucy's initiative from her hospital bed being like, go tell those guys I'm okay.
So nice.
Yeah, it sounds like from Steve Sears, there's an interview with him, and he also sort of corroborated that. Assuming she was like delirious on painkillers, but being like,
I would imagine.
the fans, go, please. Because that's all she could think of is like disappointing them because they like saw this whole thing and just, that's the sweetest fucking thing.
She's so great.
She's a hero. Like, it's
she's a hero.
amazing. You know, to undergo something like this and to be back in the saddle like 2 months later is...
Well, not quite the saddle.
Well,
but...
the metaphorical saddle
Yes.
of being the lead of your television show
Yeah.
again. I mean, that is amazing. Yeah, so I mean, obviously this presented the production with quite a few difficulties because they already had scripts written for episodes that they were about to shoot right after this little press trip. And we will be talking in the next podcast about the various solutions they found to this quandary.
Yeah.
For now, we have Hudson.
Yeah.
Hudson Xena.
She's awesome.
Is amazing.
Yeah.
And they truly lucked out to have such a great actress to be able to come in and do this. Yeah.
We will continue to sing her praises next week.
So, you can follow us on all the things.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you do this part.
Okay, we're on iTunes. You can subscribe, listen. Please rate and leave a review if you feel so inclined. We always love that. We are on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod. We are also on Facebook and Tumblr, Xena Warrior Podcast. Lots of extra fun stuff over there. If you don't like iTunes, we're on Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you can listen to stuff. We are surely there.
Yeah. All right, the power.
The passion.
The podcast.